Story 1. I've been working as a children's librarian at the Riverside Public Library for 4 years now, ever since I graduated with my master's in library science. It's the perfect job for someone who loves books and enjoys working with kids. One of my favorite parts is hosting the weekly Saturday morning story time, where I read picture books to children ages 3 to 7. The Storytime program has been running for over a decade and follows a simple format. Each week, I select 3 age-appropriate books that tie together around a theme: animals, friendship, seasons, or holidays. Parents and caregivers bring their children. We spread out on the colorful carpet in the children's section, and I read the books using different voices and encouraging participation. This particular Saturday in November, my theme was "Being Different is Special." I'd chosen 3 wonderful books that celebrate diversity and help children understand that everyone is unique and valuable. The first book was about a zebra who felt sad about his stripes until he learned they made him special. The second was about a little girl who wore hearing aids and how her friends learned to communicate with her. The third book was about a family with 2 dads and their adopted daughter. I'd read all 3 books in previous story times over the years without any issues. They were published by reputable children's publishers, had won awards, and were recommended by the American Library Association. Most importantly, they delivered positive messages about acceptance and kindness. 20 minutes before storytime was scheduled to begin, I was setting up the reading area when a woman I'd never seen before approached me. She was carrying a designer handbag and had that particular look of someone who expected immediate attention. "Karen, excuse me? Are you the person doing Storytime today?" "Me, yes, I'm the children's librarian. Storytime starts at 10 o'clock. "Karen, I need to see what books you're planning to read." "Me, of course. Today's theme is about celebrating differences. We'll be reading 3 books about how being unique makes us special." I showed her the 3 books I'd selected. "Karen, this one is inappropriate." She was pointing to the book about the family with 2 dads. "Me, that's actually a wonderful book about adoption and family love. It's won several awards." "Karen, I don't care what awards it won. I won't have my child exposed to that content." "Me, the book is really about how much parents love their children, regardless of family structure." "Karen, my child doesn't need to hear about alternative families. It goes against our moral values." "Me, I understand different families have different perspectives. If you'd prefer, you could step out during that particular book." "Karen, no. You need to choose a different book." "Me, I'm sorry, but I can't change the planned program for one family's preferences." "Karen, why not? I'm a taxpayer. This is a public library." "Me, exactly. It's a public library that serves all families in our community." "Karen, what about my rights as a parent?" "Me, you have every right to make choices for your family, including whether to attend today's storytime." Karen looked frustrated but walked away. I thought that was the end of it. At 10 o'clock, about 15 families had gathered on the carpet with their children. It was a good turnout for a November morning. Karen was there with a boy who looked about 5 years old, sitting in the back of the group. I began with my usual welcome and introduction. "Me, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to read 3 special books about how being different makes us wonderful and unique." The children clapped excitedly. I started with a zebra book, which went perfectly. The kids participated enthusiastically, making zebra sounds and talking about their own unique qualities. The second book about the girl with hearing aids also went well. Several children asked thoughtful questions about how hearing aids work, and one little girl shared that her grandmother wore them too. Then I picked up the third book. "Me, our last book today is about a special family and how much they love each other." I'd barely opened to the first page when Karen stood up. "Karen, stop. You cannot read that book." All the children turned to look at her. Several parents looked confused and concerned. "Me, ma'am, please let me finish the story." "Karen, I told you this book was inappropriate. Change it now." "Me, I'm not changing the planned program. If you're uncomfortable, You're welcome to leave. Karen, I'm not leaving. You're going to corrupt these children. One of the other parents spoke up. Parent 1, what's wrong with the book? Karen, it's pushing an agenda on our children. Me, the book is about love, family, and adoption. Those are positive values. Karen, it's about normalizing alternative lifestyles. Parent 2, could you please keep your voice down? You're scaring the kids. Several children were indeed looking worried and confused by the shouting. Karen, I have a right to protect my child. Me and other parents have a right to enjoy story time without disruption. Karen, then don't read inappropriate books. I decided to try continuing with the story, hoping she would calm down. Me, once upon a time, there was a little girl named Emma who lived with her 2 dads. Karen, no, stop it right now. She actually lunged forward and tried to grab the book from my hands. Me, ma'am, please don't touch library materials. Karen, I'm preventing you from harming these children. That's when Mrs. Henderson, our head librarian, appeared. She'd heard the commotion from the reference desk. Mrs. Henderson, what's going on here? Karen, this woman is forcing inappropriate content on our children. Mrs. Henderson, what inappropriate content? Karen, a book about homosexual families. Mrs. Henderson, you mean a book about families with 2 fathers? Karen, yes, it's corrupting children. Mrs. Henderson looked at the book I was holding. Mrs. Henderson, this is an award-winning children's book that's been in our collection for 3 years. Karen, I don't care, she needs to read something else. Mrs. Henderson, ma'am, we don't change our programming based on individual objections. Karen, this is a public library. You work for us. Mrs. Henderson, we serve the entire community, not just families who share your particular viewpoint. Karen, what about my son's moral education? Mrs. Henderson, that's your responsibility as a parent, not ours as librarians. The other families were watching this exchange with growing discomfort. Some children were starting to cry from the tension and raised voices. Parent 3, could we please finish story time? The kids are getting upset. Karen, I'm not letting this continue. She positioned herself between me and the group of children. Karen, nobody is reading that book while my child is here. Mrs. Henderson, ma'am, you need to leave immediately or I'll call security. Karen, you can't kick me out. This is a public building. Mrs. Henderson, I can remove anyone who disrupts library programming. Karen, this is discrimination. Mrs. Henderson, no, this is consequences for your behavior. Mrs. Henderson gestured toward the library's security guard, who'd been watching from nearby. Karen, fine, but I'm reporting this library to the city council. Mrs. Henderson, you're welcome to file any complaint you'd like. You're also banned from children's programming for 30 days. Karen, you can't ban me. Mrs. Henderson, I just did. Karen grabbed her son's hand and stormed toward the exit. Karen, this library promotes degeneracy. I'm telling everyone on social media. Mrs. Henderson, have a nice day, ma'am. After Karen left, Mrs. Henderson addressed the remaining families. Mrs. Henderson, I apologize for that disruption. Would you like to continue with story time? The parents all nodded eagerly. Several thanked Mrs. Henderson for handling the situation. I finished reading the book about Emma and her 2 dads. The children loved it, especially the part about how excited Emma's dads were when they adopted her. One little boy said it reminded him of his friend whose parents had adopted him from another country. After story time ended, several parents came up to thank me. Parent 1, that was a beautiful book. Thank you for not changing it. Parent 2, my daughter has 2 moms. It's nice to see families like ours represented in children's books. Parent 3, I'm sorry that woman made such a scene. You handled it very professionally. Mrs. Henderson pulled me aside afterward. Mrs. Henderson, you did exactly the right thing. We don't censor our collection based on one person's objections. Me, I felt bad for her son. He looked embarrassed. Mrs. Henderson, Unfortunately, children sometimes suffer when their parents behave inappropriately in public. Me, do you think she'll actually complain to the city council? Mrs. Henderson, probably. But our collection development policy is solid, and the city supports intellectual freedom. The following week, Karen did not appear at story time. Neither did she the week after that. I heard through the grapevine that she'd started a social media campaign against the library, but it didn't gain much traction. Most community members supported the library's commitment to serving all families. Her 30-day ban expired in December, but she never returned to children's programming. I did see her in the library once, checking out romance novels from the adult section. She avoided eye contact. Storytime continued as usual, featuring books that celebrate diversity, kindness, and the many different ways families can be formed. Because that's what libraries do. We serve everyone, not just the people who agree with each other. The children deserve to see themselves and their families reflected in the books we share, whether they have one parent or two, whether their parents are the same gender or different races, whether they're adopted or biological children. That's not pushing an agenda, that's representing reality. Story 2. I've been working as a cashier at this grocery store chain for about 8 months now. It's my first real job since I'm still in high school, and I'm trying to save money for college. The work isn't glamorous, but most customers are pretty understanding when I'm still learning the ropes. My managers have been really supportive, and they've taught me that following store policies is important, even when customers get upset about them. The store I work at is in a busy suburban area, and we get all kinds of customers throughout the day. Most people are in a hurry but still polite, and I've gotten pretty good at handling the occasional difficult customer. My training covered how to deal with expired coupons, return policies, and other common issues that come up at the register. The whole situation started on a particularly busy Saturday afternoon. I was working Register 3, which is usually one of the faster-moving lanes, when this woman approached my checkout with a cart full of groceries. She seemed normal enough at first, just another weekend shopper stocking up for the week. I started scanning her items, making friendly small talk like I always do. Everything was going smoothly until I got to the end of her order and she handed me a stack of coupons. Let me just process these coupons for you. I started scanning them one by one, checking that they matched the items she had purchased. The first few went through fine, but then I got to one that wouldn't scan. I checked the expiration date and saw that it had expired 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry, but this coupon expired on September 15th. I won't be able to accept it. Karen, what do you mean you can't accept it? It's just a few days past the date. Actually, it expired 3 weeks ago. Our system won't allow me to process expired coupons. Karen, that's ridiculous. It's barely expired. Just override it in your system. I tried to explain politely that I didn't have the authority to override expired coupons, and that it was store policy not to accept them after the expiration date. I can call my manager over if you'd like to speak with them about it. Karen, I don't need to speak to anyone. You just need to do your job and accept my coupon. I continued scanning the rest of her coupons and found 2 more that were expired. One was from last month, and another was from over 2 months ago. I'm sorry, but these other 2 coupons are also expired. I can only process the valid ones. That's when her attitude completely changed. Karen, are you kidding me right now? What kind of customer service is this? I understand it's frustrating, but I have to follow store policy about expired coupons. I'd be happy to call my manager over to explain the policy. Karen, I don't want to talk to your manager. I want you to do your job correctly and accept my coupons. The customers behind her in line were starting to look impatient, and I could feel the pressure building. I tried to stay calm and professional like my training taught me. I really am sorry, but I'm not allowed to accept expired coupons. It's not something I can change. Karen, this is absolutely unacceptable. I shop here every week, and I've never been treated this poorly. I can definitely call my manager over to help resolve this situation. Karen, no, you're going to fix this right now, or I'm going to have you fired. Her voice was getting louder, and other customers were starting to stare. I felt my face getting red because I hate being the center of attention, especially when someone is yelling at me. Me, ma'am, I'm just following the policies I was trained on. Expired coupons can't be processed through our system. Karen, I don't care about your policies. The customer is always right, and I'm telling you to accept these coupons. At this point, she was leaning over the counter and pointing her finger at me aggressively. Karen, you clearly don't understand how retail works. When a customer brings you coupons, you accept them. That's your job. Me, I understand you're upset, but yelling at me isn't going to change the expiration dates on these coupons. That seemed to make her even angrier. Karen, don't you dare talk back to me. I'm old enough to be your mother, and you need to show some respect. Me, I'm being as respectful as I can. Ma'am, I'm just trying to explain why I can't accept expired coupons. Karen, you're being disrespectful by refusing to do what I'm asking you to do. I want to speak to your manager right now. Me, of course. Let me call them over. I reached for the button to call for a manager, but she slammed her hand down on the counter. Karen, actually, no. I don't want to deal with some teenage manager. I want to speak to the store manager, the real manager. Me, I'll call whoever you'd like to speak with. But before I could press the call button, she started yelling even louder. Karen, this is exactly what's wrong with kids these days. No work ethic, no customer service skills, just attitude and excuses. The customers in line behind her were getting visibly annoyed, and one of them spoke up. Customer behind her, ma'am, the kid is just doing his job. Maybe you should check your coupon dates before coming to the store. Karen, mind your own business. This doesn't concern you. She turned back to me with fury in her eyes. Karen, you have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm going to make sure you get fired for this. I'm going to call corporate and tell them exactly how you treated me today. Me, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm just following the training I received about store policies. Karen, training. What kind of training teaches you to argue with customers and refuse to help them? Me, I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to explain why our computer system won't accept expired coupons. Karen, I don't want to hear about your computer system. I want you to manually enter these coupons and give me my discount. At this point, I was starting to feel overwhelmed. I'd never had a customer yell at me this aggressively before, and I wasn't sure what else I could do. Me, I'm not authorized to manually override expired coupons. That's something only managers can do, and even then, they usually don't make exceptions for coupons that are weeks or months old. Karen, you're lying. I've had expired coupons accepted at other stores plenty of times. Me, that may be true, but this store has specific policies that I have to follow. Karen, you're just being lazy and stubborn. It would take you 2 seconds to just type in those discounts. She grabbed the expired coupons and waved them in my face. Karen, these coupons represent money that I'm entitled to save. You're basically stealing from me by refusing to honor them. That's when I heard a voice behind her. Regional manager, excuse me, what seems to be the problem here? I looked up and saw a man in a business suit approaching our register. I'd never seen him before, but he had the kind of authority that made everyone in the area turn to look at him. Karen, finally, someone with actual authority. This kid is refusing to accept my coupons and being completely disrespectful about it. Regional manager, I see. And what's the issue with the coupons? Karen, there's no issue with the coupons. This teenager just doesn't want to do his job properly. The man looked at me calmly. Regional manager, can you explain the situation from your perspective? Me? Yes, sir. The customer has 3 coupons that are expired. One expired 3 weeks ago, one expired last month, and one expired 2 months ago. Our policy is not to accept expired coupons, and our system won't process them. The regional manager took the coupons from Karen and examined them himself. Regional manager, these are definitely expired. Our policy is very clear about not accepting coupons past their expiration date. Karen, policies are just guidelines. You have the authority to make exceptions for good customers. Regional manager, ma'am, may I ask how long you've been aware that these coupons were expired? Karen, I don't keep track of every little date on every piece of paper. It's not my job to memorize expiration dates. Regional manager, but you do understand that expiration dates exist for a reason, and that businesses have the right to enforce them. Karen, I understand that customer service used to mean something in this country. Now you have teenagers with attitudes thinking they can tell customers what they can and can't do. The regional manager looked at me again. Regional manager, has this young man been rude or disrespectful to you in any way? Karen, he's been arguing with me for 10 minutes about a simple request. That's completely unacceptable. Regional manager, I've been standing here listening for the past few minutes, and I haven't heard him say anything inappropriate. He's been following company policy exactly as he should. Karen, well, maybe your company policies need to be changed. The customer is always right, and I'm right about these coupons. Regional manager, actually, ma'am, the customer is not always right. Customers are right when they have legitimate complaints and reasonable requests. Demanding that we accept expired coupons is not reasonable. Karen, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I'm going to report this entire store to corporate. Regional manager, ma'am, I am corporate. I'm the regional manager for this district, and I'm here conducting a surprise visit to check on our stores. Karen's face went pale as she realized she'd been yelling at someone much higher up the corporate ladder than she'd expected. Regional manager, I've been observing this interaction, and I can tell you that this cashier has handled himself professionally throughout this entire situation. You, on the other hand, have been verbally abusive to a teenage employee over expired coupons. Karen, I wasn't being abusive. I was just trying to get proper customer service. Regional manager, ma'am, threatening to have an employee fired for following company policy is not acceptable behavior. Neither is yelling at a teenager who's doing exactly what he was trained to do. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm a loyal customer, and I deserve better treatment than this. Regional manager, based on what I've witnessed today, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store. Additionally, you're banned from returning to any of our locations in this district. Karen, you can't ban me. I haven't done anything wrong. Regional manager, you've verbally abused an employee, disrupted other customers' shopping experience, and created a hostile environment in our store. That's grounds for a permanent ban. Karen, this is discrimination. You're taking the side of some kid over a paying customer. Regional manager, I'm taking the side of an employee who is following policy and treating you respectfully, despite your aggressive behavior toward him. At this point, security had arrived, having been called by another employee who witnessed the commotion. Regional manager, please escort this customer out of the store and add her information to our banned customer list. As security was walking her toward the exit, she turned back and shouted one more time. Karen, you'll all regret this. I'm going to sue this company for discrimination and harassment. After she was gone, the regional manager turned to me. Regional manager, you handled that situation perfectly. Never let anyone pressure you into breaking company policy, especially over something as clear-cut as expired coupons. Me, thank you, sir. I was starting to think maybe I was doing something wrong. Regional manager, not at all. You followed your training exactly as you should have. Customers like that rely on intimidating young employees to get their way, but you stood your ground professionally. The customers who had been waiting in line actually started applauding, which made me feel both embarrassed and proud at the same time. Customer, that lady was completely out of line. You were just doing your job. Other customer, I can't believe she thought expired coupons from 2 months ago should still be valid. The regional manager stayed for a few more minutes to make sure I was okay, then went to speak with the store manager about the incident. Later that day, my manager told me that the regional manager had specifically praised my handling of the situation in his report. A few days later, I heard from a coworker that the woman had actually tried to come back to the store, apparently not realizing that the ban applied immediately. Security had to escort her out again and remind her that she was not welcome at any location in our chain. The whole experience taught me that standing up for company policies is important, even when customers try to intimidate you. It also showed me that most people, including management, will support employees who are doing their job correctly, even when difficult customers try to cause problems. Story 3. I moved to Maple Ridge neighborhood 6 months ago after getting a new job across town. It's one of those family-friendly areas where people actually know their neighbors and kids ride bikes in the streets. Everyone told me Halloween was a big deal here. Houses go all out with decorations, and trick-or-treating draws families from other neighborhoods because it's so safe and fun. This was going to be my first Halloween in the new house, and I wanted to make a good impression. I spent weeks planning my decorations and bought enough candy to supply a small army. But what really set my house apart was my tech setup. I work in it, so I've always been interested in home security systems. I'd installed a high-quality doorbell camera that connects to my phone, plus motion-activated cameras around my porch. The doorbell camera had a great feature: I could live stream the feed to social media so friends and family could watch the trick-or-treaters in real time. It was like a virtual Halloween party for people who couldn't be there. On Halloween night, I set up everything perfectly. I had a huge orange bowl filled with full-size candy bars, the good stuff that makes kids remember which houses to hit first next year. Since I was handing out candy personally for the first few hours, I didn't worry about putting up a "Take One" sign. Around 8 o'clock, I had to step away to help my elderly neighbor Mrs. Peterson. She'd run out of candy and was worried about disappointing late trick-or-treaters. I told her I'd share mine since I'd bought way too much anyway. Before leaving, I put my candy bowl back on the porch with a handwritten sign that said, "Please take one, Happy Halloween." I also started the live stream so my sister in California could watch the late trick-or-treaters. Mrs. Peterson and I were sorting through my extra candy in her kitchen when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Messages were flooding in from people watching the live stream. "Sister, OMG, are you seeing this?" "Friend, someone's stealing all your candy." "Cousin, this woman is crazy. Are you recording this?" I quickly opened the live stream on my phone. A woman I'd never seen before was standing on my porch, dumping my entire bowl of candy into a large purse. She wasn't with any children, and she was clearly an adult, probably in her 40s, with blonde hair and expensive-looking clothes. But the worst part was her attitude. She was laughing while she did it, like it was the funniest thing in the world. She held up individual candy bars to the camera, examining them like she was shopping at a store. Mrs. Peterson looked over my shoulder at the phone. "Mrs. Peterson, is that woman taking all your candy?" "Me, every single piece." "Mrs. Peterson, that's horrible. What kind of person steals from children?" The woman on my porch had finished emptying the bowl and was now looking around to see if there was anything else to take. She picked up my decorative pumpkins and seemed to consider taking those too. My phone was still buzzing with messages from viewers. "Sister, she's taking your pumpkins now." "Friend, someone needs to stop her." "Cousin, please tell me you're recording this." I was recording it. The live stream was automatically saving to my social media account, capturing everything in high definition. The woman put my pumpkins back, but then noticed my Happy Halloween doormat. She actually bent down and flipped it over to check if it was worth stealing. "Mrs. Peterson, go stop her." "Me, I'm on my way." I ran back to my house, but by the time I got there, she was gone. My candy bowl was completely empty, sitting on the porch like a sad reminder of what had happened. The live stream was still running, and comments were pouring in from friends, family, and strangers who had discovered the feed. I checked the recorded footage. The timestamp showed she'd been on my porch for nearly 4 minutes, methodically taking every piece of candy while making jokes to herself. Random viewer, this is why we can't have nice things. Another viewer, someone should call her out publicly. Sister, post this everywhere. People need to see what she did. The next morning, I downloaded the video and posted it to my neighborhood's social media group with the caption, "If anyone knows this woman, she stole an entire bowl of Halloween candy meant for children." This was recorded live on my doorbell camera. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Neighbor 1, that's disgusting behavior. Neighbor 2, I think I know who this is. Let me check with my wife. Neighbor 3, my kids came to your house later and were so disappointed there was no candy left. Within 2 hours, someone had identified her. Neighbor 4, that's definitely the woman who lives on Elm Street. I've seen her walking her little dog. Neighbor 5, I know exactly who that is. She lives 3 blocks over in the blue house. Neighbor 6, should we confront her about this? Mrs. Peterson, who had joined the neighborhood group specifically to follow this drama, chimed in. Mrs. Peterson, I saw the whole thing happen live. She was laughing like it was funny to steal from children. More neighbors started sharing their own experiences. Neighbor 7, she did the same thing at my house 2 years ago. I thought I was imagining it. Neighbor 8, my doorbell camera caught her taking packages from porches last month. Neighbor 9, she's been stealing newspapers from our driveways for weeks. The video had been shared beyond just our neighborhood group. Someone had posted it to the main city social media page, and it was getting hundreds of comments and shares. Random person, this is Karen behavior at its finest. Another person, imagine being so selfish you steal candy from children. Yet another person, she's getting roasted in the comments and she deserves it. By afternoon, local news stations had picked up the story. The video was being shown on the evening news with a headline, "Local woman caught stealing Halloween candy on livestream." That evening, there was a knock on my door. It was the candy thief herself, looking significantly less amused than she had on my porch. Karen, you need to take down that video. Me, excuse me. Karen, the video of me on your porch. Remove it immediately. Me, why would I do that? Karen, because it's ruining my reputation. People are recognizing me everywhere I go. Me, maybe you should have thought about that before stealing candy meant for children. Karen, I didn't steal anything. It was sitting outside with a sign that said take one. Me, take one, not take everything. Karen, the sign wasn't specific enough. Me, the sign said take one. How much more specific could it be? Karen, you're making me look bad on purpose. Me, you made yourself look bad. I just happened to be recording it. Karen, I demand you remove the video. Me, I'm not removing anything. You stole candy from children and got caught. Karen, I'll sue you for invasion of privacy. Me, you were on my property, stealing my property, and the camera was clearly visible. Karen, this is harassment. Me, this is consequences. She stormed off, but not before several neighbors had seen her at my door. The story spread even further now people knew she'd actually come to demand the video be taken down instead of apologizing. The next day, Mrs. Peterson brought me a plate of cookies and an update. Mrs. Peterson, I heard from Linda down the street that the candy thief got fired from her job. Me, really? Mrs. Peterson, apparently the video reached someone at her work. They said it reflected poorly on the company. Me, that seems extreme. Mrs. Peterson, Linda said she worked at a children's daycare center. Me, oh, that makes more sense. The story continued evolving over the next week. More neighbors came forward with their own stories about her stealing packages, newspapers, and decorations. Someone found her on social media and discovered she frequently posted about people these days having no morals. The irony was not lost on anyone. A month later, I saw her at the grocery store. She was wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap, clearly trying to avoid being recognized. When she saw me, she quickly turned and walked in the opposite direction. I never got my candy back, but I didn't really care anymore. The whole experience had brought the neighborhood together in an unexpected way. We started a group chat to watch out for package thieves and other suspicious activity. This Halloween, I'm planning an even bigger display. I'll definitely be live streaming again, but this time I'll have backup candy hidden inside the house, and I'll make sure my Take One sign is even more specific, though I suspect anyone brazen enough to steal an entire bowl of candy won't be deterred by clearer instructions. Some people learned that actions have consequences in the age of doorbell cameras and social media. Others learned that stealing from children makes you the villain in everyone's story, especially when it's all captured in high-definition video. The internet never forgets, and neither do neighborhoods.